All right, today's topic is George Washington. Now it's 1787. The Constitution is adopted. George Washington is inaugurated to be the first president. Now, if you would like, click on that link right there, and that will take you to something. Oops, excuse me. So, we got two of them going here. This is a portion of the John Adams HBO miniseries, and within this clip, you're going to see George Washington, a reenactment of George Washington being inaugurated the first president. It's quite different than it is today. And of course, George Washington is going to set many examples for future presidents, and he knew that was such an important job. Now, as you go through this video, remember, you may stop, you may rewind. Most of what your notes are going to be is in yellow. Okay, so don't write anything that's not in yellow unless you just want some extra information. On page 1, you're going to title that the Early Republic Unit. Now, we're going to talk about precedents today. And as I said before, those mean setting an example for others, a precedent. George Washington faced 4 major problems. Economic system, we're broke. We need to fix that. Court system, we don't have one. Defining the authority, how strong is this new national government going to be? And last, national security. France and Britain and Spain are constantly at war across the waters, and they're not too cool with us trading with their enemies, so we're going to have some problem with them. He knew he couldn't handle all this by himself, so he surrounded himself with smart people. He calls them his cabinet, and this is a group of presidential advisors. In your notes, write in the speech bubbles next to them their name and their title. Hamilton was the Secretary of Treasury. He's going to fix the money. Jefferson is the Secretary of State. He's going to take care of relationships with foreign countries. Secretary of War was Henry Knox. Today it's called the Defense Department. And Attorney General Edmund Randolph, kind of like the lawyer for the United States. Now today the cabinet has grown larger than just 4. And the president is allowed to choose his cabinet members, and the Congress has to approve them. But they are his choice, and they change throughout the presidency, or from president to president. He meets with them regularly and talks about certain issues that he has on his agenda, and they give him advice. Now there are several different cabinets today. If you go to this site right here, and I'll go ahead and show you the shortened URL if you want to pause and type that in. And if you scroll down below, this is going to give you more information about each of the different departments, as well as what they do and who is currently in charge of those. All right, we got to set up a court system. So Congress and the President passes the Judiciary Act. You have that in your notes. It's in yellow. Write it down. Federal courts. Look at this graph. Pause it for a minute. Read it. As you can see, we're in a lot of debt. Now, the first thing is creating a stable economic system. Do not write anything that is not in yellow. Hamilton has a financial plan. He says we're badly in debt. We need to pay back the loans from France for the revolution. They created a tariff law. Now, a tariff is a tax on imported goods from other countries. We're going to raise some taxes to pay the war debts. Tariffs are very important. My circle's a little off. Make sure that you put a star or a circlet. We're going to talk a lot about those this year. He also created a national bank. A lot of people were very angry about this national bank because it doesn't say in the Constitution that you can create one. But Hamilton says you can, because it is for the good of the country. We're going to stretch the constitutional powers just a little bit to pay back our loans. Now, Jefferson was very opposed to it. He said, no, it's not said. You can't do it. You just can't do it. Hamilton, on the other hand, said, yeah. Washington agrees with Hamilton, and the National Bank is set up. Now, this is from Hamilton's Cabinet Battle number 1, It does have, oh, it may or may not have some cuss words in it. Anyway, if you go to YouTube and type in Cabinet Battle #1, you're either going to get some words. I don't know why that didn't play, but there's several different ones out there, but I think there's a bad word in there, so beware. Brain snacks. We had a small brain snack, and that ended, I believe that was my closing task instead, and there's a lot more things. That was day 1, and we're going to continue to talk about Washington in day 2. All right, so we had some reading from the book. I can give that to you so you can read up on the Whiskey Rebellion and get that in your notes. Or you can either perhaps watch the Whiskey Rebellion. This is about it. He's a little strange and he sings a lot of different songs, but he's not too bad. Here is a shortened URL. You can pause that now and write that down. All right. The Whiskey Rebellion was a rebellion of farmers about the whiskey tax. They made whiskey with their corn, and they were making quite a good profit off of it. And they raised up and said, no taxation without representation. Well, George Washington ran down there and said, look, you bunch of dummies, we've already had that war. You have representation, and you're going to pay that tax. Well, he showed his authority. The federal government was going to be in charge, and you just couldn't protest and raise up arms against the government for every little thing. So that was the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. Now, dealing with national security. Again, don't write anything down unless you see it in yellow. The French Revolution started in France, and they wanted our help. What were we going to do? We were in debt. They're revolting against their king and queen, but he is, well, the revolution is quite, how should we say, violent. They're cutting off the king and queen's head. They're rioting in the streets. It wasn't quite like throwing tea overboard at the Boston Tea Party. So they had to decide, are they going to get involved as the United States and help the French as they helped us? Now, again, this is Cabinet Battle #2 about whether or not we should help them. Wow. Okay, that one's blocked too. That really surprised me. We'll tell you what. If you do a search in YouTube, Cabinet Battle #2 is the name of the song. I'm sure that there won't be a problem. Now, after that, you know, Hamilton wants to support Britain. Jefferson very much supports the French. And Washington just said, you know what? We can't afford to get in a fight. We're going to stay neutral. So he starts working on the inside of his country rather than things going on outside. One Last Time is a Hamilton song. You can put that on YouTube too, about Washington retiring. Now, he sets a precedent, or an example for other presidents, called the Washington Farewell Address. And he wants to send one more message to the country before he leaves as president. He's ready to go home, and the precedent he set with that is that he only served for 2 terms. And there's only one other president in history that serves more than 2 terms, and that was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In this speech, you will see that he wants everyone to stay neutral. Do not make long-term pacts with foreign countries. Do not hate any too much. Do not love anyone too much. They're going to pull you in to their fights if you do so. The second one is to avoid political parties. The next lesson that we had on Thursday was about the 2 political parties formed by Hamilton and Jefferson. We're going to trace the roots of our American political system throughout until we get to the modern Democratic and Republican Party this year. So, Washington's Farewell Address, this was the first time that someone across the world has peacefully chosen to give their power away to another person who was voted on. And of course, second president will be John Adams. And that was quite unprecedented, because usually if you lost your kingdom, you were either murdered, died, or, well, murdered or died. So it's usually some kind of violent something that happens that leadership changes hand. But that was the difference with the United States. Okay, I believe that's it. Go ahead and add this to your notes on Washington's farewell address. There was an assignment that went with this. Please make sure you take your time and read that carefully. Again, if you have any questions, I'm available almost every morning except for Wednesday, and most afternoons if you let me know that you need my time. Good luck and thanks.